This episode is brought to you by Clay Lacy Aviation. And now, to own the jet.
So the Learjet absolutely broke all of the records by so far.
And one of Clay's things was to market this was taking that Lear, flying it from here to New York, lunch and back in the same day.
All before sunup and sundown. It was called the Boomerang.
That's right.
Yeah, this was the Mad Men era. Right? This is where you were taking out. You were trying to promote something, and you brought cameras with you wherever you went. Right. So.
Welcome to Own the Jet by Aspen Aero Group, where we share perspectives from some of the leading voices in private jet ownership and business aviation. I'm your host, Derik Savage, along with my co-host, Jason Spoor, president of Aspen Aero Group. Our guest today is Joe Barber, Chief Commercial Officer at Clay Lacy Aviation. Joe leads the company's strategic marketing and sales efforts across aircraft management, jet charter, and FBO operations, helping shape one of the most respected brands in private aviation. Join us as we dive deep into the mechanics, mindset, and moments that define jet ownership. And together, we'll learn what it takes to own the jet. Welcome to another episode of Own the Jet. We are here on location in Van Nuys, California at Clay Lacy Aviation, joined here by Joe Barber of Clay Lacy Aviation, the Chief Commercial Officer. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true. Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful aviation day here.
Beautiful aviation day. Beautiful view. Just a beautiful place to be.
That's right.
So can you tell us a little bit about Clay Lacy and you know what this company is, and maybe even a little bit of the history?
Yeah. Well, so we're coming up here pretty soon on our 60th year. So the company was founded in 1968. Yeah. And so been around for quite some time, learned quite a bit throughout that period. But
was it founded by Clay Lacy?
It was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is a guess.
Yeah, so it was at the same time, there was Astrovision and Clay Lacy were incorporated together. And so it combined a few passions of Clay at the time. Yeah. And this blossomed into what we call an aviation services company.
Okay.
And so aviation services represents that generic term, but what it means is our core competency is aircraft management, right?
Okay.
And so we have 4 pillars of our business. Aircraft management is what we've done the longest, what we've worked very diligently to get better at over time, obviously. But all of these adjacencies have developed to create good value for our customers.
Okay.
And we grow where our customers want us to. And so, for instance, at one point or another, it was important for them to have maintenance resources that help their airplanes be more reliable. So we built a maintenance repair station.
Okay. Yeah.
And so then they wanted revenue offset for their airplanes, and then we built charter services, right? So that operates as its own optional service. And of course, the FBO itself. Yeah. Our first FBO was here in 1981.
Sure.
One of the things that we work on and the FBO network across our nation works on is how to make this as streamlined and smooth as possible. Nice. But for our facility, we've been doing it for a while. We're now kind of growing into new areas. So we have a bit of a real estate arm that's developing and helping us go and grow into new markets and deploy our 4 pillars into those new markets.
And so let's talk about you just for a second personally.
Yeah.
You know, and how in your journey, because I believe that that FBO is part of your journey, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, so from the early days.
Yeah, how do I get to grow up and be Joe Barber?
Right.
Because it sounds like you got a pretty sweet
A lot
gig
of patience.
Here.
Yeah. Well, patience is true, right? And thank you for the compliment. But it was really, I mean, I did walk around this airport with my resume.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that
awesome.
didn't really work, to be honest.
Okay. So you're how old?
Right now?
No, when you did this.
Oh, okay.
Back when you were walking around like,
kind of personal.
You're like, this was last week.
Yeah, right.
So I was a junior in my college program at Cal State Northridge, just a mile from here.
All right, so like
it's
21-ish? Yeah,
21,
okay.
right? And I had just met my now wife.
Okay.
And so I was looking for how to, be ready for that life, right?
Sure.
The future of family and life.
Yeah.
And so I knew I needed to upgrade my experience a bit. But I went to a professor because I was struggling to get my way into the industry.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
being this was 2005, there weren't a lot of programs. You couldn't find a lot online about it. So my professor said, use your business degree and go interview the CEOs and ask them, how do they run their business?
Yeah.
Well, I got calls back immediately on that one.
Right.
So my second interview, I asked for an internship, and that was my way to get in. I started with scheduling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how it all works.
Yeah, so it all started with
that's
scheduling.
Yep. So scheduling charter stuff. Yep.
Sweet.
And
And
then-
you've worked your way all the way up to Chief Commercial Officer now.
What's
And
that?
what do you
What's
do
that?
as that?
So it's in charge of all of the marketing, sales, and service for all of our customers in those 4 business lines.
Okay, nice.
So quite a big scope, but there's team members within each one of those divisions that runs all the services, that takes care of making sure that the customer is satisfied, and that when it's in the maintenance shop, a lot of our customers are the directors of aviation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Or the
absolutely.
directors of maintenance.
Yep.
And those people have their own very unique criteria for what makes a successful maintenance visit, right?
Right.
Versus the aircraft management customer.
Yeah.
They're looking for in most cases, kind of a soup to nuts, an entire holistic program to manage an asset.
Okay.
That's everything from the accounting, the scheduling, the maintenance, the crew management. And so you wrap all that together, and that's what we consider asset management.
Okay, nice. And there's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just huge. A big part of owning a jet. Now as far as dealing with directors of aviation, so that's a role and a title that you've had, Jason.
It is.
How do you approach organizations like Clay Lacy in that role?
Yeah. So Clay Lacy to us represents mainly the FBO side. We're looking for, like he said, that on-off type service and getting good service and cars and getting our people on their way as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Maintenance as well. There might be a chance that we would come through here and need it and use it, but we would defer it, like you said, down to our director of maintenance.
Nice.
But yeah, Clay Lacy to us represents quality and great service.
Nice. How many of these are there?
So we have this facility. We also have Oxford, Connecticut,
Okay.
Orange County, and that's in John Wayne. And they just won the AIN Customer Service Award for the 3rd year in a row.
Did they really?
Yeah. Sweet.
Oh, that is great. Awesome.
And they're doing
Good.
it all while working
Wow.
out of a mobile.
I was going to
terminal.
say, you're not done yet with
No.
completion on that building. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see it if you go down there
Yeah.
this week. But ultimately, they're in some of the final phases of construction. So
Okay.
toward the end of this year, we'll have it open.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. So but we have that, and then we have a couple of more that our real estate division is working to develop over time. So being a privately owned company, we grow at a reasonable tick, obviously. So we take on a couple of real estate projects every other year or so, and that helps us kind of expand where our presence of our 4 business lines grows.
Nice.
And that's kind of new, though, right? Because, Clay Lacy, historically, traditionally, has always been Van Nuys, California.
Yeah.
And so now you're going to the East Coast.
Yeah.
And back here to the West Coast a little bit, and maybe somewhere in between, and et cetera, et cetera. So, what's the strategy? You're not going to tell me the strategy, but just watching you, kind of grow out of that. Just being here in Van Nuys, FBO wise, you're starting to pop up.
Yeah. Well, really what it is where is the need that the customer has. So one of the things that's important to our core and our chairman, since he purchased the company from Clay Lacy in 2012, was to grow into a national sense, but not just to wear the badge of being national.
Yeah.
It was to be in the locations where our customers went. So when you were, as you had said, when we were primarily based in Van Nuys, guess where our number one second destination was?
I have no idea. New York. No,
New York.
Yeah, New York. Yeah.
Teterboro.
Yeah.
Right?
So let's go.
So we needed to be in the Northeast in a location that helps serve our customers that were based there, visiting there, and so on.
Yeah.
And we have an opportunity to build a location in
Yeah.
Oxford, Connecticut, which is about a 0.3 flight from Teterboro or White
Yeah.
Plains.
Yeah.
And that allowed us to be able to build a facility with enough of a low capital design that allowed us to charge less than Teterboro and White Plains would.
Yeah.
And so it was a need by the market, and we just satisfied it.
That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
So I would expect Bozeman's on the radar, different Jackson Hole's on the radar. I'm just guessing. But
Yeah, I mean, well, listen, we are being a privately owned company, and there's a lot of big business and a lot of private equity business out there. We have to be very thoughtful and diligent with how we go and invest into those new locations. So it has to make sense. And a lot of times it's sweat equity.
Yeah.
That's just what it takes.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, I was going to say, Clay, you talk about company's name and everything. Clay Lacy is an actual person, and I want to make sure that people understand that.
Somebody he knows, somebody we've talked to.
And learning about all this, it's like I did some research and I read up and learned a little bit about who is, as a person, who is Clay Lacy? What does he represent to aviation? What, how is this a part of his legacy? And kind of, can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, this was his founding, and he was so well known in this industry, even back towards the 60s, when he was really like the barnstormer, the Hollywood crew member, Hollywood pilot.
Yeah.
And some of the pilots that worked for us in those early years called it the Hollywood Air Force.
But I mean, that's what it was when I was doing my research, because I nerd out about stuff like that, right? Yeah. So I'm looking at like, he did anything with a camera in the air, through, I don't know, the 60s, 70s, 80s, it was Clay.
Yeah. And that was his design, right? The Astrovision. Right.
Yeah, it was part of the incorporation of both businesses to be able to support this ecosystem of aviation that he had. He was a multi-aircraft owner. He had, obviously, he was flying for United. He was filming. He had his own, charter company and maintenance and all those. So it was a wide scope at the beginning. But what he developed over time was that these customers would end up, buying the airplane and being like, well, I don't know how to hire a pilot. I don't know how to maintain a maintenance schedule. I don't know how to buy and sell even at the point. And so that really turned into something where he was a catch-all for aviation matters.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
But they're like, but I'm good buddies with Clay, and he seems to know this stuff. So let's see what he thinks.
Let's see if he can do it.
And he's like, there might be a business here.
Yeah, absolutely. So that would be your first management company too, really.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, seriously.
Honestly, it was. And in a lot of ways, it really started with taking some of the undesirable things about owning the asset and having someone do it for you. It was like that first outsourced view of aviation management.
Yeah.
And now Clay's still around. He lives in this area. Is that right?
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
And he still obviously holds a number of records, including probably the most flight time of any living human, over 60,000 flight hours, plenty of speed records. Much of this airport can thank him for a lot of the wonderful things that have come to build the business here as well. I mean, he landed the Lear 23, the first Learjet, on this runway in 1964 with the intention of, let's get some people to buy airplanes, right?
Yeah.
And he was
a little bit like
Learjets. He was selling Learjets as well. Was that a thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you told me that, Jason.
He was sales.
Yeah, he was friends with Bill Lear.
Yep.
Okay. And as a result, of course, Clay Lacy is originally from Wichita.
Yeah.
Right. Came out here for the airline, and then Bill Lear and him formed a little bit of a partnership to bring Learjets out.
I can't imagine there was much of like a huge private aviation industry outside of that whenever he started, right? I mean, like I would imagine that he would have been a big part of building this particular airport,
right? You're more the historian, but for sure.
I mean, you can see through the photos that exist about Southern California. There's a lot of, I mean, even since like the 30s and 40s, owning a private aircraft of your own for a business purpose, that was widely known and used, but they were propeller driven.
Right.
Right. And so you were flying at 200 knots versus 500, and much different altitudes, different airways. So the Learjet absolutely broke all of the records by so far.
And one of Clay's things was to market this was taking that Lear, flying it from here to New York, lunch and back. in the same
wow.
day.
All,
right?
all before sunup and sundown.
Yep.
It was called the boomerang.
That's right.
Yeah,
And
this was the Mad Men era.
Yeah.
Like this is where you were taking out, you were trying to promote something, and you brought cameras with you wherever you went, right? So it was such a beautiful time, and such an amazing time to see aviation become part of not only like a high lifestyle, but also the effectiveness of companies, making companies more efficient or more effective.
Yeah,
And you know all about that.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, if we sat here and talked about, obviously there's a celebrity side of it, like you just said, the luxury and the glamour of private aviation. But, in the business world, an airplane is time. It's a time machine, right? It saves time. So I can get from this meeting to this meeting to this meeting, airports that aren't serviced by the airlines, and I can make more money. And offset the price of the airplane.
It's the time machine. Every time we have a new aircraft owner that's buying an airplane for the first time, there's a book that Clay wrote called Lucky Me.
Ah, okay.
And so we like to go to those aircraft owners that are first experiencing this time machine and say, well, lucky you.
Yes.
Right? Because this is such a profound change in your life.
Yes.
You've extended your life. You've
bought time.
You've bought time.
You bought time.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. So talking about your client, fast forwarding to today, talking about your clientele now, like what kind of people do you typically work with? I mean, is it mostly business? Is it mostly celebrity and athletes, or like what kind of people are working with Clay Lacy to save themselves time and to buy themselves time?
Yeah. Well, having each one of those 4 pillars allows us to work with literally everybody, right? And so we service the flight departments, the private flight departments, the high net worth individuals, even military organizations, right?
Okay.
We're supporting maintenance for all kinds of airplanes.
Nice.
Right? So from our standpoint, we're really broad scoped. If you focus in on, let's just say, the management side of the business,
Okay.
if you were to dissect our current customer base, we have about 143 airplanes. Roughly half of them are on what we call the Part 135. They're looking for charter, right?
So they're looking for some offset.
Yeah, so they're looking for some revenue offset. And then if you look at that entire base, roughly about 80 of those airplanes are large cabin airplanes. So from our standpoint, we consider Clay Lacy a specialized first-time aircraft owner service. We get a lot of concept buyers, and I've told you about this, Jason, that when we have someone coming to us, our brand fortunately has been around long enough that we get people who are like, I'm thinking about doing this, and they're looking for us to help them with some general information. You know what the first thing we do is?
Call me.
Call you. Honestly, is build the deal team. Right? Because this isn't done.
Well, we've talked about this too when it comes to brokerage. It's got to be a team, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that. Why is that important?
So, listen, there's a jack of all trades concept, right? Where
Sure.
you could have one person that kind of directs a lot of different areas. Well, to be able to say that person can go in depth on specialized and subject matter expertise on all is probably not likely.
Right.
So it is really good to have a small crew of subject matter experts, especially when you're going to go buy a $50 or $60 million asset.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, is the insurance well worth it?
Right.
And a lot of times those people are coming into this experience and looking for it to be a little bit more manicured almost.
Absolutely.
Like, isn't it just a package? No, it's not a package.
No.
You have to identify who is the right acquisition agent for you,
Right.
who is the right management company.
Right.
Right. It's a very personalized.
Tax, insurance.
Yes.
And, how are we going to depreciate? How are we going to tax it out? And that's the same. That's how we've, established Aspen.
Yeah.
And, so there's a team. There's finance. There's tax. There's insurance. And
Typically,
and we all
how many people are you gonna have on a team? Who needs to be there? What elements do we need to? And you're talking about the elements, but I mean, typically, how big is a team, and who's overseeing it?
Yeah.
5-6
Okay.
people.
Yeah, 5 or 6 people in addition to the actual principal, the buyer of the aircraft, and then any of their team members that need to participate as stakeholders. So typically you'll find a CFO, you might find a chief legal officer, and there's an important distinction here, is that you say, well, I have a tax guy, I also have a legal person.
That's right.
Yes,
and
it's not. I got my CPA, I got my attorney. We're good, right?
And we've had these episodes where that guy, I'm sure he's great, but let's think about this.
I would
this
probably
guy
still
is
want to have that
aviation guy.
I would still want to have that
Yeah,
argument
but
because I want you to prove me wrong.
I just have you write me a check and how much you lost. Just write me
Okay.
because this tax guy is going to know exactly,
Yeah.
what we need to do setting up your airplane.
Yeah.
Versus the guy you have in house.
There's something unique about also using your own internal people.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing that, you're kind of setting them up for a competition too. Like who knows more?
True.
And you really don't need
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
It's not part of the transaction process, but
Right.
But building, and oftentimes you'll see somebody that says, "I want to buy an airplane," and they'll start with Jason.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Jason will take lead on the project of, you need to build that team. Well, if I get that person first, I will help build that team too.
Yeah.
But what we all understand in this industry
Uh-huh.
is that it all benefits us. We have to work together as
Yeah.
team members. We're not going to
Yeah.
compete with each other.
Right.
Right. So that's a big part
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
what to do to be successful
Yeah.
for the customer.
Yeah, because on the brokerage side, I mean, we sell an airplane. That person wants, one of two things, maybe an offset and a 135. Maybe they just want management or both.
Yeah.
Well, obviously it's going to be both. From our vantage point, or at least my vantage point into our sales group, is we have to partner with companies like Clay Lacy to make sure that we have that continuity and that it's going to be just a fantastic situation for them. Because if I put them into another brand or somebody we just don't really know, they could drop the ball and it's just egg on everybody's face, right? So,
Yeah.
so having those relationships, like Joe said, is huge. Because I trust he's going to do good.
What happens when you don't do that? What happens when you just thanks for buying this airplane and off you go and good luck. What?
Well, I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to say that there's a different type of CEO for every company, right?
Right.
Sometimes you have the one that's the builder. Sometimes you have the one that's the cleanup,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and in some instances, that's the same job that we have as stewards of our customer, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's Jason or me or anyone else in that deal team,
Yeah.
we have to look out for their best interests.
Yeah.
And afford them the ability to right size or correct for any mistakes that they may have gone through
Yes.
from not having the knowledge or maybe not investing enough time to understand what the process should look like.
Yeah.
Right.
But very quickly you'll find that in that second, maybe, or third, hopefully not, but second aircraft cycle,
Yeah.
they'll have learned all those lessons.
Is that something that you find with people that are like new to jet ownership? Maybe they went through a transaction, now they're coming to you for management, and maybe the first thing you've got to do is kind of maybe correct some things or make sure things are like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, but remember, they're all
doing
humans at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah,
fun
sure.
to admit fault. But,
Right.
but
Well,
you know.
I
Right.
mean, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
If I'm going into a situation where it's like I'm new to this whole thing, I have no idea where I might have made missteps.
Yeah, yeah.
But now, fortunately, I've got someone,
Who has the knowledge.
like Clay Lacy and or Jason,
Yeah.
that's going to help me
Yeah.
put things right
Yeah.
and then make sure things are well managed going forward.
Well, it's an honor to help someone do something that maybe pulls them out of a tough situation.
Correct.
Right? Because we get personal satisfaction
Sure.
out of helping somebody right size or correct something that didn't go the way they thought it would. Or maybe it's just realignment of expectations that's necessary.
Yeah.
But these people are so incredibly brilliant
Right.
that they walk in with a bias that I can learn this.
Yeah,
And,
that's
and
right.
Of course you can, and you will.
Uh-huh.
Just not quickly.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Or without the right amount of investment of their time.
Sure.
So ultimately, we end up probably at least half the time helping people see things through a more professional lens than what they started with.
So what would you say is different about your approach from maybe some other options people might have, right? So what are some big differentiators or things that maybe your philosophy may differ or your approach may differ from other organizations like yours where people may want to consider you instead?
Sure. Well, thank you. I mean, aviation services intentionally has a pretty good range, right?
Uh-huh.
We have independent business units that operate with their own professionalism and subject matter expertise, and we bring in a holistic view. So if we're asked to go negotiate with a hangar lease, well, we're on the other side of that, so we know what those contracts look like. It gives us the ability to go and find nuance in contracts, right?
Sure.
If we're managing and operating an aircraft for you, we also know the maintenance and all the other services and how to buy fuel at bulk and be able to purchase like a lot of different services for their benefit. So if you were to distill it down really to what makes Clay Lacy different, it's the fact that we've taken a engineered service approach. This business, and specifically aircraft management, has been ripe for innovation on service.
Yes.
And it's always needed to professionalize, use more technology, provide services that don't require you to send an email to get what you want from me.
Okay.
Right? There's a lot of things that exist in this business that are a couple of decades behind. So we are investing and reinvesting in new facilities, new technologies. I mean, we spent about $4 million on back-end systems that our customers will never know.
Yeah.
But because we're doing it to create and evolve our services and enhance what they get to see. So
that's awesome.
From our standpoint, it's about our ability, and not just to overuse the word to customize, but to customize in a way where we're handing them a very clear picture of, you make this decision, this is the likely outcome. You make this decision, this is the likely outcome. So we're a good advisor.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
100% agree. You guys.
Yeah.
In the innovation, especially on the innovation side, same with us. It's we're 10 to 15 years behind what's other industries are.
Yeah.
And we see it time and time again.
Yeah.
So if I want to get into a situation where I'm a private jet owner and I want to be advised by the team here at Clay Lacy, what's the best approach that I can take to get in touch with you and start my journey with good advisory, good management, and really top class FBO. This is great.
Thank you. Well, so from where we start with customers, it could be through anyone that you meet personally that works for Clay Lacy.
Yeah.
But the easiest source is really to go to claylacy.com.
Okay.
We have all of our services very well described in terms of what you can get. And obviously you can submit a form, but you might as well just give me a call, right?
Yes.
And so I'd be happy to.
Phone number in the description.
Day or night, 24 hours a day.
There you go. It is the business. But ultimately, a lot of people may ask, they don't know what they need when they're asking for their help.
Right.
And that's why you do need that human interaction. Not everything can be solved by technology in that way.
Yeah.
Let us find what the problem is or something that could be improved.
Okay.
And so those are the ways to access. Go on the website, look for what you're interested in. We do a lot of blog articles and short videos to kind of give some education to first-time aircraft owners and our customers.
Yeah.
That's another great way to learn.
Nice.
Absolutely.
And so fill out a form, ask the question. You guys will be in touch, and you'll get the conversation started that way.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
We act like consultants in that way. We'll be able to drive a very quick response.
Yeah.
Because we know these things happen when they care about them happening. So
Nice.
we have to be quick.
Nice. Well, we'll put the information in the description for that. And Joe Barber, thank you so much for first off being on the Jet, and second allowing us to use your beautiful facility here. This is really great.
Awesome.
Well, it's a pleasure to have both of you here as well. So thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks a lot, man.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate you.
And join us next time where we're going to learn more about what it takes to own the jet.
Thank you for watching Own the Jet. If you want to see more Own the Jet, make sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube and leave a comment telling us what aspect of jet ownership you'd like to know more about. Own the Jet is brought to you by Aspen Aero Group, your trusted partner in private and corporate jet ownership. Learn more at aspenaerogroup.com. This has been a Savage Media production.